so it's quite damp, so I want to stay fairly close to the little house on the prairie. But what I thought we might do is check out the hyena den and see if there's any activity around there. So if you guys are cool, we'll start heading down there and see what we can find, and then we'll slowly start making our way up towards Mvubu Road. I think that's the plan this morning, and hopefully this will lift like it did yesterday, so keep your fingers crossed. Thanks, ladies. Now, if Jodie from New Mexico is on board, she was asking yesterday about animals that eat marulas from the elephant dung. You may have seen the elephants. There we go, just in front of us. Be able just to show, maybe we've got some new viewers on board or people who weren't able to join in yesterday. You can see some old elephant dung, and there's full marula fruits in there. Quite interestingly, I was watching the female impala have a look through, and she was sniffing around, and there was a few really nice full marula fruits there, but she wasn't interested in those. She was actually going for the ones that had already been opened slightly, and she was actually licking the inside of the skin, which I found quite interesting. And unfortunately, you just missed, probably about 2 or 3 minutes ago, we had a family of hardy-dar ibis that flew into the middle of the herd. And, oh, sorry, the herd were here, and they actually flew in onto the road, and they slowly started making their way there, and the little babies were actually quite inquisitive and started walking towards the hardy-dars, and one of them must have just touched them with the nose, and they flew up, and the whole herd just got a fright. Everyone just stopped what they were doing and froze. It was quite amazing. But they're all back to normal now, and they're all grazing and browsing, so I think we're going to leave them. But it just goes to show, anything that does eat marula fruits will come and check out what's going on with these fruits that have passed through the elephant. And that is quite important for the marulas as well, because they have a natural source of fertilizer. There's a lot of goodness in that dung. Just remember, the elephants don't tend to digest too much. Probably taking them about, for an adult elephant, about 150 kilos of food a day, and they'll process about 40% of that, so it could look probably about 100 kilos of dung a day for an adult elephant. I say a lot of goodness in that. Feel a little bit of that moisture. So there's a little bit of hyena spoor just on that corner there, heading this way. So if I get some clear tracks, I'll see if I can stop and show you. And it looks like possibly African civet was having a look around last night. I had a few of those tracks a little bit further back on the quarantine area. And that's an animal you don't get to see very often. Also highly nocturnal. And it almost looks like a raccoon. Black face, black and white rings around the tail, and black and white stripes down the back end of the body, and spots, black spots on the front end of the body. And probably about a raccoon size actually. But it doesn't tend to, I know raccoons tend to stand on the back legs and use the front legs quite a lot to manipulate things, but the African civet doesn't do that as much. It tends to walk more like a cat or a dog. And it looks like possibly the white-tailed mongoose was out last night. Just reading the bush newspaper. Oh, elephants. Elephants went down this way as well. But if we do have any new viewers on board, welcome. And if you would like to ask any questions while we're driving around this morning here in South Africa, then please send your questions to questions@wildearth.tv, and you can also use the Twitter as well to answer any questions that I might throw at you guys. Maybe we'll have a Who Dung It if I find some interesting dung for you to have a look at today. But the account is #SafariLive. So send your emails or questions through those two channels. And it's great to have you on board with us this morning, even though the mist is descending a little bit. Let's say, hopefully it will lift. But, as I say, this is actually perfect weather because it's still fairly cool, it's overcast, and sometimes those nocturnal animals can be out and about, which would be fantastic to see. No vultures today. Some nice runny buffalo dung from the old Dugger boy, I think, who was here yesterday. I must admit, it would be very nice to catch up with some spotted hyenas while we're here. Around on the reserve that I'm working on, we tend to have a lot of brown hyena, lots of brown hyena pasting, but we don't have spotted hyena, and they're actually quite different. The spotted hyena, as the name suggests, have spots all over the coat, and the brown hyena is roughly about the same size actually, but they don't tend to socialise as much as a spotted hyena by all accounts. But again, not much is really known. Okay. There is a lot of hyena activity along this road. But the brown hyena has this long brown fur. But one of the main differences is the spotted hyena, the females are in charge. So it's what's known as a matriarchal society. So the females are usually larger than the males. And usually a lot more aggressive as well. The males tend to have to bow down to the females and make sure that the females won't attack them for whatever reason. But the brown hyenas, by all accounts, aren't like that. Okay, if I remember rightly, we need to stay on this side because I think there's one or two holes this side. Somebody's up there. There's a pup. Yes. Hello, little one. Oh, how precious. Oh, that's not very old at all.
Lucky.
Huh?
Lucky.
Yeah, beautiful. And that's one thing I love about spotted hyena, they're so inquisitive. Now, some of you might be thinking, you thought you heard me say we're going to a spotted hyena den, and this one doesn't have any spots. It's because it's so young. They only start to get the spots around 4 months old. So we know this is definitely under 4 months old, and at a guess I'd probably say maybe about a month and a half, maybe 2 months by the size of it. It's very small. And it's very normal for them to have a den, and a female will have her pups here, and she'll come back after a night's foraging and feed them. They actually suckle for quite a long time, usually about a year and a half, up to a year and a half before they're fully weaned. But they don't tend to bring food back, although once or twice we have seen it on WildEarth, but they're not supposed to bring food back for the pups. If I move forward a little bit more, you might get a nicer shot. I don't want to go around the other side and scare it, but if I just move forward slightly, you might get a nice view if it pops its head out again. How's that? Have you got a slightly clearer view?
Yeah.
Oh, and there's the adult there. I can just see her ears. So I think Mummy's home. We might actually be able to go around. As soon as she's here, Baby might feel a little bit more comfortable. I'm just going to see if we can get a view of Mum. But I don't want to disturb her, so I'll just keep a check on how she is, but to see if I can try and get a view of her for you. I know it used to be a lot more open than trying to go in here and disturb her. Oh, there's two mums here. Quite often the females will give birth in a den further away by themselves, and as the pups get older they'll bring them to a communal den. Hello, lady. There we go. Is that slightly better?
Yeah, that's good.
And unfortunately, spotted hyena have this bad reputation of stealing everyone's food. And yes, they do that, but they're actually very good predators in their own right. And quite often, and when film crews have come along, it's actually the hyenas trying to steal their food back. And that's probably where they got the wrong impression of the fact that hyenas scavenge a lot more than they predate. But now you can see those spots on the adult quite clearly. It would be wonderful to see that little baby coming out again. And for those of you who might just be joining us, you're here live in South Africa with spotted hyenas at a communal den by the looks of it. And we've just seen a very young baby hyena, and it was, I'd say probably about, oh, there it is again. Right on cue. probably about a month old. It is very small, but very inquisitive. And I think that's what makes hyenas so successful, because they do have this curiosity. Oh, look at that. Actually, that one coming in looks like it could have been a youngster from a few years ago. One thing I have noticed about hyenas, they tend to get paler and the hair much shorter as they get older. You can see that one's quite fluffy, the one that's following the little baby now. Good morning, all stations. The Kaya just off of Philemon's cut line is active. Affirmative, the Kaya on Philemon's cut line is active. The Mbizi. I think the guys aren't used to my accent again. It's taken them a little while to understand what I'm saying. Now, if the adults aren't here, that hole that we saw the baby come out of will be its little retreat, and quite often they would have dug a little scrape right at the back so that only the babies can get there. So if there's any danger, the babies will actually retreat right into the back of that hole so that any big animal can't get at them. And you can see it just keeps returning every so often. That's its safety net. And that hole would have originally been made by maybe an aardvark going for that, because it's actually an old termite mound. So the aardvark would have made the hole trying to get to a meal of termites, and then over the years it would have been excavated, maybe by warthog. They might have just opened it up a little bit wider, and then by the hyenas.
typically are in a litter.
Good morning to you, Gail, and you must have just read my mind. I was just about to start talking about that. Well, welcome from New Jersey. And Gail was wanting to know how many pups they might have. And typically it's usually around 2, although I have read they could have up to 3. Now, as I was saying as we're approaching... Oh, hello, what's going on? You see the mother's got her ears picked up. She's stretching to see what's happening. She might have just caught the scent of something. Nope. But it pays to be on the lookout. And a pup that size is vulnerable to anything. And that's very true for any carnivore. They're small, they can be vulnerable to eagles, they could be vulnerable to snakes. The rules of the bush: if you're bigger, then you get to eat more. If you're smaller, you could become someone's meal. So stay safe, little one. But as I was saying earlier, the spotted hyena can be very aggressive, and even at that age, you might even get siblicide, so the baby's actually killing each other. And it tends to happen if it's 2 females. The rivalry is so strong. The more dominant female might end up killing the other female, even if it's just by stopping them getting to the teat to get milk. If it's a male and female, there doesn't seem to be as much rivalry because the male is quite submissive. And if it's 2 males, the same sort of thing, they're very submissive. So there doesn't seem to be that rivalry, but if there's the 2 females, very strong rivalry. And I wonder if this one isn't a little female, because it looks like it could be just the one. We haven't seen a second pup yet. But now looking at the size, yeah, I really don't think it's older than a month. And it's so exciting to have a little one, it's so precious. It is starting to get a little bit drizzly, so we're just putting the raincoat on the camera. I'm actually just going to see if we can't roll back a little bit and just see the other... cub. I think it must have been maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Can you see them a little bit better? You can see them playing.
Yeah, that's good.
And with this little pup being so inquisitive, that also backs up my theory that it might be a female as well.
There are some background. In Victoria, this year in November, there was also a small hyena cub, but that was at a different den. I think the den that was a bit further to the west. But they say that there was a very pregnant female there at the time as well, and after a while they abandoned that den. So it might be the same family that moved then, and now it's another cub.
Okay, that's some interesting information coming through. Thanks, Pete. I'm not sure who the information came from, but apparently there's a den that Peter Pistorius found. I'm not sure where, but there was a very young cub that side. So it could be part of the same family. Now, the age of this little pup, it might be the same. I'm not sure how long ago Peter found it, but it could be the same.
That was in November.
November.
Already a month more old at the time.
Oh, okay. So it was in November and probably about a month old. So this won't be the same pup. They grow very rapidly. But they say that the family members could be connected. And maybe that pup is still around. It could be at this den. Maybe we're just not seeing it. I haven't been around to the other side of the den. But we didn't see anything as we came in. And with the adults being around this hole, I'd say this is the active side of it. So it might be worth us checking out the other hyena dens and just seeing. So this one might be where she's given birth. This one might be the solitary one, and she might take it to a communal one as the pup gets older. Because say if she moves it too early, the pup could be in danger of being killed by the other pups, especially if she's a lower ranking female. So if it's the pups of the matriarch, no one will touch them, but if it's a lower ranking female, she does have to be careful. So she'll make sure the pup grows a lot larger before she moves it to a communal den. And maybe that's what's happening here. Yeah, look how boisterous it's playing. I would say that's definitely a little female. And what's really interesting is that females have got so much testosterone in their body, the male hormone. They actually have genitalia that looks like a male's. So it's very difficult to tell a male and a female apart just by looking at it. And that's really quite amazing. So, and that's why people think they're hermaphrodites, that they have the ability to be male and female, but that's not the case. They just look like a male from the genitalia. And that's one thing I'd love to see is mating hyenas, because that must be very awkward. Hyenas might not be your favourite animal, but how can you not love to see that little baby? I remember when we did have a hyena baby, it was 3 years ago. I think it got nicknamed Teddy, and I think that helped to melt a lot of hearts who didn't like hyenas at the beginning. But I think they're very misunderstood creatures, and highly intelligent actually. Can you see it still nicely, or should I try and move back a little bit again?
Maybe a little bit.
Let's see if we can move back a little bit. Now we've been here for a little while, they might not be too concerned about the vehicle turning on. Oh! You see it nicely there? It's alright, little one, we were just moving. I think from what I could see, it was grabbing the ear of the older animal, and sort of throwing it around like a dog would a bone. I must admit, I would not like to be on the end of those teeth. Little needles. There you go. Going to Mum for reassurance. I'm sure she'll go back to what looks to be the older sibling. There we go. I don't know if are you hearing the hyenas? Slightly. There's this really low that I think the adult the baby's playing with is giving. It's almost like a reassurance that And actually, when it's got its head down, that's what it's doing it. And quite often when there's a contact call, they'll call into the ground so it amplifies the sound. So when they do that low, ooh, I would say it might just be too low for the microphone to pick up. He's really getting a spring in his step, eh? Oh.
Gwendolyn from California would like to know what that bird is that you can hear calling in the background.
Good morning, was it Gwendolyn from California? Welcome on board this morning, and you're hearing a bird in the background. I've been so focused on the hyenas. I've just been enjoying just watching them. I've actually phased out any sounds. It's quite amazing. The bird that is calling in the background that I think you are picking up is the oriole. It's just behind us in the tree. Black-headed oriole. Kind of going... Oh, that was very bad, wasn't it? Wet my whistle a little bit. Let's try that one again. Getting better. But I think that's the one. That's the only one that I've just focused in on now. There was a black-crowned chegre off in the distance. He kind of whistles like someone who's had too much to drink and is trying to whistle a tune and can't quite get the tune. It kind of goes. Oh dear, my whistling's really bad this morning. And the woodlands kingfisher's just starting to join the chorus now as well. Chip chirr. I can do that one. It doesn't involve whistling this morning. I was having a very nice conversation with the black-headed oriole just as we were setting up the vehicle. He had a lot to say. Nope. There, she's calling again. I wonder if you're picking it up.
Some viewers are wondering the younger hyena of the two, whether that could be the cub that Peter saw in November, so we should have been like
Okay.
Or is it too big to be that young?
So some people are wondering if the other, probably older sibling could be the cub from November, October time, or is it too big? And yeah, it is a little bit too big. Yeah, you'd be looking at, what, a 4-month-old pup, which would just be having its spots. It would be like a miniature version of the adult, so it would be probably about, I know it's difficult to really get the size understanding, but probably about 3 times, maybe 4 times bigger than the little one that we've just been seeing. So this one's almost adult size. I wonder what's going on. I'm going to actually reverse and just see if we can't see around the other side of the den. Something's going on between those 2 adults. See if we can get a clearer view of them again. So I think this sub-adult that we're seeing is probably about a 2, 3, maybe, yeah, 2 or 3 year old. And wow, the vegetation's really grown on. That was fairly bare where they were. That was one of the main holes, I think, somewhere around there, and we were seeing the cubs, or pups. I think it's interchangeable, actually. Pugs and cubs. Pups and cubs. Because hyenas have actually been messed around a little bit in the whole taxonomy. So they were originally classified as dogs, and you can see why. Originally, the classification was based a lot on the looks of animals. And you can see they do look like a dog. They've got that long nose, the muzzle does look like a dog, the ears, the rounded ears. Even the claws are out constantly. Now with cats, the claws actually get retract so that they get protected and they stay sharp. But they have been changed from being in the dog suborder to the cat suborder, and it's all to do with what's going on inside the skull. There's a few similarities between the skulls of true cats and hyenas, and that's why they've been reclassified as they're all part of the cat order. So I think that's why you can use cubs or pups. Oh, that was just magical, hey? And the weather looks like it's starting to lift a little bit. Yeah, hello. Sounds like the guys are following tracks of lions somewhere up towards the gate. It sounds like the Birmingham Pride may have passed through, so I'll keep my ear to the ground, but it sounds like they may have gone west or north from there. Oh, that is too precious. Oh, I'm certainly going to look forward to actually catching up with it in the next 2 weeks. But shall we take this opportunity while the weather is lifting, see if we can go and find anything else for you this morning? That really was wonderful, but I'm sure we'll be back to visit over the course of the 2 weeks. Thank you very much, ladies, for letting us view your little one for a little while. You can hear that low call again. So I think it is just that little bit too low for the microphone to pick up. magic was that, hey? Very, very cool. All stations leaving the Mbezi Kaya active. One Lampimpan just off of Government's Cut Line. The lock is open. Oh wow. Oh wow. Thanks for that information, Ella from Arkansas, and Tina, and this is where you were from. But thank you very much for that information. Apparently Mark saw mating hyenas in December. I bet that was amazing. I'd love to see that footage actually. Let's say it must be pretty awkward. Okay, let's have a trundle down towards Mvubu Road. As I say, maybe we'll be lucky. Say that change in the female's genitalia is very unusual in the mammal kingdom. But a girl that I work with on the reserve was telling me about aardvarks, and apparently some people who were researching aardvarks also said it's very difficult to tell the male and female apart with the genitalia. So the female looks fairly similar. Now, how true that was, or if I remember it correctly, but it would be interesting to see if someone can look it up for us. Maybe there's something written down. But that was the first time I ever heard about that, I must admit. That was quite interesting. Aardvarks, I wasn't expecting that at all. And that's something I'd love to see. Yeah, somebody was asking yesterday what other animals I'd like to see other than a leopard while I was here for 2 weeks. And an aardvark is another animal you don't get a chance to see very often, but it's a very odd looking animal with the big ears and the long nose and the big claws, and they're capable of burrowing about 6 meters would be the normal home tunnel, if you like, and apparently they're capable of excavating a meter every 10 minutes, which is quite amazing even in very hard ground. But their claws are huge, very, very powerful. And I remember a colleague of mine saying that he saw an aardvark out on the plains, and there was 2 black-backed jackals, and they were actually coming in from both sides, tormenting it. It kept turning around and using its front paws as almost like a boxing glove and just punching them. And you just don't expect an aardvark to turn around and do that. They're very slow moving usually. But it was able to defend itself, and it actually did chase off the jackal just by doing that. Quite a sight. But what was really amazing to me, I did actually see an aardvark pick up the pace a little bit, and it almost hops like a kangaroo when it's getting speed. It's quite unusual, and it's something I never even expected it to do. And it did 2 laps of the vehicle. But they do have that very thick muscular tail, just like a kangaroo, for balance, so it makes a lot of sense. But it's not the normal mode of movement. They tend to pull fours, slowly make the way between termite mound to termite mound. And they're not greedy. They tend to take a few termites from one mound and then move on to the next and take a few from there. Just trying to think now. Actually, no, that was the road I wanted to take. I'm going to try and go around the back side of Quarantine and just see if there isn't anything going on there. Especially with this big herd of impala here. Sounds like there might be quite a few people up around or heading through to the northern part of Juma. So if there is anything that side, then they'll let us know. Sorry, ladies. Oh, there's a little baby there. So these baby impalas, the small ones, probably only about 2 weeks old. You can see some of the larger ones already probably about a month old, with the little males with those little tiny horns, probably about 6 weeks, because they tend to start growing the horns about a month old. Sorry, ladies. You may have seen the little ones just bouncing around just as we started drive, kicking their back legs, and if you have a look at the black on the back of the impala legs, that's actually a gland. And they're not really too sure exactly what it's for, but the theory goes that when they kick the back legs, they give off this chemical that the other impala can smell and can follow, so the herd can stay together. But it's also, for me, it's very visual, so I wonder if they see that black as they're running away. And it tends to be when there's predators around, and they'll kick the back legs and jump as high as they can. They show the predators that I'm very strong, you know, I'm going to outrun you. So it could be a couple of things, maybe to show the predators or to try and keep the herd together, but certainly if it gives off a chemical, it could be to keep the herd together, and both male and female have it, which does back up that theory. Don't get a fright, lady. Or are you going to try and cross as well? Okay. No? Were you miles away? I did wonder. She looked like she was miles away. Oh, something big behind me. You going to join the rest of the herd, or are you going to stand there? So yeah, maybe I can actually help you out with that little baby. So size-wise, baby was about this sort of size. So yeah, when they're about 4 months old, which is what the other one would be, you're looking something about that sort of height, maybe that sort of length. That works. Well, my hand's going out of frame. Something like that. So yeah, so much bigger than the baby, but not as big as an adult. Adult, you're looking about, oh, how big would an adult be? Probably about between a medium and a large-sized dog. Oh, lots of elephant activity here. Wow. all the dung and all the... I think they were actually having a... Let me just move back a little bit. Maybe for a dust bath. Try and get rid of any parasites on the skin. Yes. Sounds like the hyenas have made a bad name for themselves again. I understand, unfortunately, one of Karula's cubs was taken by a hyena. So people's hearts were melted, and now they're not so melted. And unfortunately, you're looking at two carnivores, and as I was saying before, the babies of those carnivores are vulnerable to anything, and there would be nothing to stop if Karula found that den unoccupied. I doubt she would walk by it without at least having a check out of what was around and possibly killing any cubs that she found. So as much as we love Karula and obviously her family and obviously losing a cub, that's really heartbreaking. And you know, it's never easy, especially when you get so attached to these animals. It's never easy because you feel a part of their family and you feel their loss. But we do have to remember this is nature as well. And as I say, if Karula came across that little pup, she would probably do the same thing, unfortunately. So we've always got to try and remember and put it into perspective. And actually, I think losing this, so this would be her 5th litter. That's quite incredible. Because leopards, to have the success rate that Karula's had with her cubs, you're talking about 4 litters of 2. So you're talking about 8 cubs she's successfully reared so far. And she's had this fifth litter. I'm not sure if she had 1 or 2 cubs, maybe someone can fill me in. But to lose 1, so that's the 9th cub. It's obviously, as I say, it's heartbreaking to hear that she actually has lost 1. But in the grand scheme of things, that's still pretty amazing that it's just been 1. That really is amazing. And that just really goes to show how successful a mother she actually has been. To have the accolade behind her that 8 cubs have survived to adulthood. Now, obviously, what goes on after that, we don't know what happened to Shavinzi. But we have heard about Induna and Mishu. They've gone off and I think Mishu went to the north and I think he went to the west. I did hear Induna was stuck around for quite a while. But it'd be nice to hear if we have any updates from him. And obviously her daughters, they've gone on and had cubs. And unfortunately, I think, was it Shadow who lost quite a few of her cubs before she successfully was able to rear some of hers. And unfortunately, that's why predators tend to have a number of cubs or pups, whereas you get the herbivores, they'll have maybe 1. We've got some young wildebeest in front of us, but at least Mum can maybe put all her efforts into trying to protect that 1, but if she had any more, it would be very difficult. Whereas predators kind of try to have a few, maybe 2, 3, 4, and with lions, you know, up to 5 or 6, just to try and hopefully get 1 through to adulthood, because obviously it's very different for carnivores and herbivores. But as sad as it is, that is the way of nature. It can be harsh at times, can be very heartbreaking. But how about these? If predator came along now, I mean, you're looking at something that could potentially help keep their cubs alive. So again, you know, if one of these baby wildebeest got taken out, again, it would be extremely upsetting. But if the predator doesn't hunt, doesn't have food to keep the babies alive, so then the carnivore might die. And that's the whole thing about nature. It's all interconnected. But then if the baby is strong enough and gets away, then it's possible it's going to go on and survive, breed, and have stronger young that will also maybe outrun that predator. But there's got to be that balance. And if you have too many carnivores, if every carnivore survived, they'll be taking out these young wildebeest and young impala, and they would absolutely decimate the herbivore population. So if the herbivores die, and there's too many dying, then the carnivores don't have enough to eat, and then they're going to start dying. It is this cycle. So I hope maybe we can redeem the hyenas for you, as heartbreaking as it is. But would you really want to see Karula come along and have payback for that baby hyena? Ask yourselves that. I don't think so. There's quite a range of ages on those young wildebeest. You can see there's one that's slightly brown still, and then you've got the ones that are a little bit older. And remember, herbivores do tend to go a lot quicker than the carnivores, because they have to. Their life depends on it. If they remain small, as I said earlier, if you're small, you're anybody's meal. So as they get bigger, then obviously less carnivores are able to hunt them. So an adult wildebeest, it's very difficult for any predators under probably a leopard size to take down. At leopard, you may look at an adult male taking down a wildebeest. It's not the normal food source, but push came to shove and the opportunity was there. It may be possible. I have seen footage of leopard taking wildebeest out on the migration. But here in the sands, the leopards tend to go for more the impala size. Baby wildebeest would be on their menu as well. Now, I don't know if you actually can see, but they are called blue wildebeest, and they have this slightly slaty grey look about them, which is where they get the name from. And this is the only wildebeest you're going to be seeing around in the sands, but we do also have the black wildebeest in South Africa, but that tends to be in the grassland areas, so more towards the central part of South Africa. Their horns are slightly different. The horns actually go to the front and up. Now on the wildebeest here, you can see the horns go to the side and up, and you can see they've got a black mane and black tail. With the black wildebeest, the body's black, but then the mane and the tail are white. So those are the two big differences between the two. And black wildebeest are slightly smaller in size, but so it is quite difficult to get an understanding of size on the video here. And if we do have any new viewers joining us, welcome live on board Wendy this morning here in South Africa at Djuma Game Reserve. And it is slightly overcast, but it is lifting, so I'm going to start venturing a bit further afield. I'm going to try and head over to where the leopard was last seen yesterday. Maybe see if we can pick up any tracks. There hasn't really been much on the radio. I think everyone's been going after the lions. Unfortunately, they're quite far out of the area we're able to get signal in. But it sounds like it was the Birmingham Pride. But apart from that, I don't think there's been any other tracks picked up. So we're going to see if we can head around and find anything for ourselves. And leave these wildebeests to their grazing. I actually think hyenas have got quite a sense of humour as well. I was just telling Andrew yesterday, because we were on the other side of... Oh, hello. Did I just see a rump there with somebody? Maybe it was another wildebeest. I'll just have a look. Did I see a rump, or is it wildebeest? Oh, it's wildebeest. Yeah. But yeah, it was actually on the opposite side of the open area from where we are now, and the impala were giving this alarm call as they were looking down towards the dam, and we were trying to work out what they were seeing. And just it was just the funniest thing. A hyena just comes sauntering up to them, stands right next to them. So we have the impala kind of here. The hyena just stood next to them, looking at them and looking down to where they were looking, always with this confused look on its face. And the impala that stood next to it kind of did a second take of this hyena. I suddenly realised that maybe it should be standing next to a hyena, and kind of did a little jump to the side. It was just brilliant. I think we were just off air at that point, so unfortunately I don't think anyone was able to join us for that. But oh, it was just hysterical, and this hyena just had a look on his face like, what's your problem? So not too much from the Bush newspaper, unfortunately. Thank you. Thanks for the information. So apparently the Birminghams are a coalition of males rather than a pride. So the difference between the coalition and pride tends to be females and the cubs, and a coalition tends to be males. So that's where the different terminology comes in. Morning! Sorry, do you want to go ahead? I just want to try and remember, because I want to go to Gallagher shortcut, and I'm just trying to remember it. I think it's just beyond this turning, and it's not back there. So, no, it is back there. Just trying to reorientate myself. So it's my second day being back in Juma, and I say most of it is starting to come back. It's just these little junctions that I haven't been through yet. Just trying to remember, replace where everything is. So the Birmingham Coalition is, actually, if someone can help me out, I think, is it 5? Could be 5 males. And it's quite interesting actually, because when I was a kid, it was always given, or we were always given the impression that the lions is the females, the cubs, and the males, and they always hang around together, and that's actually not the case. Sometimes the males will have a pride and they'll stick with those and maybe go off a bit by themselves and go and protect the boundaries of the territories. But sometimes the males can actually incorporate a number of female prides, and they'll go between the female prides, and it could be somewhere between 3 and 4 prides within their territory. So it really depends on the area and the situation as to how the lions actually organise themselves. And that's one of the things I really find fascinating, that the behaviours in different areas can change slightly. And you know, if the lion pride numbers get too big, they can actually break off. I think that's happened with others. So they had the main pride, the mother with the daughters once, and obviously it got too big, and maybe some of the daughters started picking away and having cubs of their own and their own pride. It depends on how many mouths you have to feed and what food is available. So if the males are female pride, often they can lend their weight when it comes to hunting buffalo. Because unfortunately that was another thing as a kid. We always were given the impression that male lions do hunt, and that's a misconception. They do, and they can give their weight and they can be very successful in hunting, but they tend to not if there's a female pride, because they can actually conserve their energy for marking the territory and territory. So that's really where that misconception came in. So if they are with the females, they'll conserve their energy much more. Station will be impala. Thank you very much. So far, I'm going to have a look around in Peru. I just went to the Mbizi Kaya that was active off the Women's Cup line, but Luton so far. we're just going through a little bit of a signal dip here. But we'll see, hopefully we should be a little bit clear as we out. I'll bring this up pit line. Who are you? Did you see the bird just landing in the marina up there?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I wonder if I maybe roll back a little bit, because I don't think you can see its head, can you? I just saw a slightly larger bird than a dove just land in that marula. And I can see barring on the back and on the chest. But it'd be nice to see his head. So if you guys do have a nice view of it, see if anybody can actually ID it, because I'm struggling to see it properly. Can you see its head at all? No. So I have a thought of what it might be, but that barring on the back is throwing me a little bit.
Hear the hyena?
Yeah, I was just about to say I can hear the hyena. Contact calling. Whoop. I don't think it's our mother that we just left. It's a little bit too far to the den. Let's see if we can still hear it. Yeah, it'd be interesting to try and get an idea on that bird. But mostly grey by the looks of it. See if anybody does come back with some suggestions. I'll have to keep an eye out.
It's a bit far.
Yeah, it's a little bit. As I said, I just couldn't get a good look at it, but it looked like there was a little bit of barring at the back. Oh, there he goes. Oh, I can hear the Admiral's whistle of the grey hornbill.
What did you think the bird was?
I thought it could have been a goshawk, but I say it's that barring on the back is really throwing me. That's why it'd be nice to have seen the head. Oh, Oh, there. They're displaying up on top of the marula. Just off in the distance, if you go to the right at the top of that marula at the back, there's the grey hornbill up there, who's just displaying. And the typical hornbills, which is what this one is, they fall into two categories, and hopefully you can get to see the display. And he's holding his head up, and it's the head up whistlers, really technical, and the head down cluckers, which is what the hornbill and the yellow-billed hornbill and the red-billed hornbills fall into. There you go, so you can see the wings were flapping and the head was being thrown back, which is where they get that split from. So if we see the yellow-billed or the red-billed hornbills displaying, they have the heads down and they do the clucking, that cluck, 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 cluck. You can hear some helmeted shrikes calling. It's nice to see them displaying. So that was the grey hornbill. Been seeing quite a few of those around recently. Going to be checking out all these little termite mounds just in case there's a leopard sitting on top of them. Because this kind of weather, you might well be doing that. Oh, just saw another dwarf mongoose in the road. He was way, way off. Around, I can hear you. Oh, there. Yeah, just here. Very cool. There's a lot of foliage there. I don't think I can get a nice view of them. Just let me know if you get a good view. There's one just at the back there. Nice. And we're really close, so I'm really hoping you're hearing that little chirping sound that they're doing. And that is their alarm call, that high-pitched chirping. Unfortunately, because the foliage is so thick, I'm struggling to actually see them myself, but it looks like there may be a couple of youngsters there, is that right?
Yeah.
See a couple of babies? Just got to try and keep an eye, because sometimes they do come close to the vehicle. They're so inquisitive, just like the baby hyena. Come up to see what's going on. It looks like they're starting to get ready for their morning forage. It looks like. You see, I can't see if they're sitting on a little mound. It could well be. Well, they might have already been foraging. It is a little bit late for them to start foraging, I think. But then again, it is overcast. They might have had a late start to the morning. And they are a carnivore, so they will go after insects and maybe even lizards if they can get hold of them. I have seen them take a spider off its web before as well. Just reached up and grabbed it. It's quite low down.
They're edging closer and closer.
Are they?
Yeah.
But quite often they will have a sentinel on guard, just like the other types of mongoose who tend to live communally. So the meerkats is one of the obvious ones. But they live more to the west of here, more to the west and north where it's drier. Our equivalent that would be around here is a banded mongoose. It looks fairly similar. It does have bands across its back, and probably about 3 times the size of the dwarf mongoose that you're looking at now. But then we do also have mongoose that live solitary, and each one actually has a different role to play. So these guys are actually diurnal, they're active during the day. The banded mongoose also, and the meerkats. And they probably do live as a group. Safety in numbers again, so they can keep a lookout for predators during the day as they forage. And the other types of mongoose tend to be more nocturnal, but they all tend to be solitary. So I had tracks of the white-tailed mongoose just before we started drive, and that will come out at night. It's a nocturnal feeder, and it's got quite a big bushy white tail, and probably about 7 times larger than dwarf mongoose, maybe even more, maybe even 10 times larger. So a much larger mongoose that we get around here. And the slender as well. Slender have actually been known to hunt and kill dwarf mongoose, so even cousins will attack each other in this family. But the slender mongoose looks almost like a small ferret. Long, slender body, very thin tail with a black tip on the end. Nope. And it's amazing, these guys were given an alarm call for certain things. And some aerial predators, like eagles, now I think it was down on the coast, I think it could have been down towards the Cape, but I'll have to try and see if I can remember the details. But I remember them saying that when the batelier flew over, they could tell the difference between the batelier and other eagles because of the shortness of the tail, and they didn't used to give the alarm call because the bateliers aren't supposed to eat the dwarf mongoose. But what was really interesting is here we actually, when I was explaining this last time I was driving, and they were all out on the termite mound, and we saw a batelier fly over, and those ones did actually give the alarm call. So it was quite interesting to hear the difference again between the different areas and what they've actually learned. And maybe there was maybe it wasn't it couldn't have been the Cape, it was bateliers, it must have been more towards the eastern side. I forget where it was, I'll have to try and look it up again, but it was somewhere else, and I'll say where bateliers also occur. But quite amazing. Oh, there's one out in the open nicely just in front of us. Oh. Just disappeared in there. Yeah, it must have been towards the coast on the eastern side. Or maybe even further north. Yeah, I'll see if I can try and find out that location for you. You do have a lot to say, little one. Cool. Alrighty. Well, let's leave them to it. Chirping away there. I just. It was lovely to catch up with them. They must be one of my favourite animals to sit and watch, especially when they're out in the open. And it's that whole family interaction again. And they'll groom each other before they go out foraging. Make sure they get all the parasites, all the external parasites off each other, and keep themselves clean. But it also strengthens the bonds as well. Just like the baboons, they'll do that as well. And even the impala. We didn't really see too much of it today, but they will groom each other and try and get as many of the ticks and the parasites off as possible. And obviously the oxpeckers will help with that. If the oxpeckers try and land on these guys, they'll squash them. And you also find that they don't tend to land on carnivores just because they could become prey as well. good lookout for here. Welcome on board to some of the regular viewers who have been used to... You might need to give me a little bit of an update again. But yeah, welcome back on board. Some of those viewers who have been used to the HD quality of the drives, and we realise we are streaming in a slightly lower quality than what you've been used to, so apologies for that, but we are making improvements, and it's all to do with the transitional period, and hopefully it's actually going to be even better than before. So do bear with us. I hope you're still enjoying the drives anyway. And we are seeing some wonderful animal interactions this morning, and I'm hoping we might even find a spotted cat for you, but I'm not going to say the name because it seems to be jinxing it. So I'd love to try and catch up with one for you, but do enjoy it and do bear with us. As I say, just remember this is something so unique. Other people have tried it and not been able to be successful with it. The fact that we can actually be with you, or you can be with us live here in South Africa, driving around the world famous Sabi Sands, here at Djuma, looking for whatever the African bush has to offer us, and you can actually be a part of that from the comfort of your own home. It still blows my mind that we're able to do this, you know, so many years on, and we just it's just incredible. And hopefully, as I say, once we go through the transitional period, kudu, you'll actually have even better quality viewing. Hello, ladies. Are you going to stick around, and why were you running? Are you just trying to keep up with the rest of the herd here? There's one youngster looking around over its shoulder here. I'm just checking out the drainage lines. Even though it's quite cool, I would expect the leopards to be... Oh, I said it now. Jinxed it. No! Our spotted furry friends. I'd expect them to be out on a termite mound, you know, sort of having a look at what's going on around them. They can afford to be out and about because it's not too hot. They tend to utilise the drainage lines during the day when it's a little bit cooler in there. But anything goes. I mean, this is nature. Anything goes. So just trying to keep my eyes peeled. We're actually in the area, or very close to the area where the cat was seen yesterday. So we were like 2 or 3 minutes behind seeing him. It was actually on Gary Cut Line, and apparently he found himself a herd of elephants, which startled him, and he took off somewhere into the bush. So I'm hoping we might get some tracks from around this area. So we're going to have a look. We're going to head down Mvubu Road. We should see these kudu a little bit closer. Just wanted to see what they were doing. See if they could let us know if there was any cat around here. But it was believed to be Kanyuma. That's it, right? I forgot to write it on my hand and say it 20 times last night. I will try today. Oh, sorry, little one. And if you were actually on board yesterday morning, you might have remembered me talking about the white tail, and she was displaying that quite nicely there for you. But that white tail shows up so vividly in the bush. And when they display that white tail, it's usually if they've been startled or there's a predator and they dash off through the bush and the rest of the herd can keep up with them. A little bit like the glands on the impala. But you can see really nicely that the brown on top, so once they fold the tail away, that white disappears so they can just blend in with the bush again. And again, that can also confuse the predator. So if they've been focusing on that white tail as they've been running through the bush and then all of a sudden the kudu stops, puts its tail down, it disappears. So hopefully remains hidden from the predator. And quite often they'll use, alongside that, the startle response. So as the predator is looking around, if they're getting closer to the animal, they'll literally freeze right up until that last second. So the predator is just on top of them. I'm just going to move around and see if we can get another view of them through the bush there. You get almost on top of them, and then the animal will run. And it is that split-second delay from the predator, although he gets a start, what on earth just happened, that could give the animal that chance to get away. And that's very typical of antelope that live in the bush, like these kudu. And it's very typical you'll find them in the thick areas like this, the thick vegetation. And we were lucky enough to see some nyala yesterday. And, ooh, check, she's got her ears forward, she's trying to see if there's anything there that might be a problem. It's constantly trying to check for any signs that the animals have picked something up that could potentially be a danger, be a threat, because obviously their livelihood depends on it. So they've got to be one step ahead of the game at all times, and if they just relax for even a moment, that could be the difference between life and death for these animals. So she's just making sure whatever it is that caught her attention isn't going to be a problem. But the kudu, some people find it difficult to tell the difference between the kudu, the bushbuck and the nyala. And the kudu you can hopefully see quite nicely. I'm going to move closer again so we can see them a bit better again. Kudu are quite grey in colour, although I have seen some beige kudu depending on the area. But they tend to have a lot of stripes on their body, and the stripe pattern is unique to each individual. But it's also those big ears of the kudu that give them away. There's actually a little young female just here, right next to us. Just move forward a little bit. Oh, you would go back there, wouldn't you? Let's see if we can get through the opening again. Just to try and show you those big, beautiful ears. And obviously that's going to help to aid them. Can you see them nicely through there?
Yeah, it's okay.
So that can aid them, because say you can see how thick this bush is. We're struggling to try and get a nice view of them. But those big satellite dishes of ears can actually help to pick up all the sounds around them and help to tell them if there is any problems up ahead. Because obviously the eyes, they've got very good eyesight, but it's going to be hindered with all the bushes. Are you still seeing them? Yeah. Now you might be hearing a bird in the background. It's got quite a low... Oh, there's another kudu just in front of us. That's obviously what the other female was hearing. I think she's just darted across the road now. But it's got quite a low boop 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 boop. Now that can be mixed up with another bird that tends to suggest there's rain on its way. So the bird that's actually calling is the emerald spotted wood dove. And the bird you could get it mixed up with is the Birchall's cuckoo, which kind of, it's not the world's greatest impression, but it kind of goes whoop, 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 whoop. But if you hear it, you might recognise it because of it. Cool. Alrighty. Well, we're on the top of Mvubu Road now, so we're going to take a slow drive along here. See if we can't pick up any tracks of our cat. Bless you. Bless you. Stay safe, ladies. Anybody sitting on top of that? Oh. Okay, let's start you guys off now. If we've got any new viewers on board, one of my keen interests, let's say, is the tracks and signs of animals, and this can help you to locate animals. So what we're doing, we're driving along here and seeing if we can find any tracks of the cat that was left in this block here somewhere yesterday. Now it could be that he's already crossed, maybe it crossed on an area that's doesn't tend to show the tracks very well. It's a little bit hard in places, so it doesn't tend to leave very good tracks, but where we were before we had a lot of sand and there was nice tracks that you can see there. But the other signs that we look for are things like the branches being broken or strips of bark being taken off, which can also indicate other animals have been around. Maybe rubbings on the trees tends to suggest that animals have used them as scratching posts. But the other thing is the dung, and this is one of my favourite games, and some of you have been asking about doing a Who Dung It quiz, so we're hoping to do a few Who Dung It quizzes over the next couple of weeks. So this one's a fairly easy one, so if you can zoom in on that, I'm actually going to bring a little bit back to the vehicle, so bear with me, but you can have a look at it for now. And we'll see if anyone can give the right answer. So if you want to send in your answers, hashtag Safari Live or questions@wildearth.tv, and let's see who comes back with the right answer. But I'm going to take you through a few ways to help you identify what animal this could be. And as I say, there's also a reason why I've stopped here, just to listen out for any alarm calls, because obviously with the engine going it's very difficult. That's another sign of the bush. Let's see if we can work out where these animals are. So we try and put all these little clues together and work out where the predators might be, because obviously they like to stay in hiding as much as possible. Okay, so one of the big giveaways is the fact that I'm picking it up. So this belongs to one type of animal rather than another type of animal. Now I'm talking very broadly. Have a look at what's in the dung. That's another thing that we look at, is the content of the dung. You can see there's some form of fruit in there. It's very coarse, which means this animal doesn't have a very good digestive system. And look at the colour as well. It's quite red in colour, so there's a lot of tannins in there, which tends to suggest this animal will eat a lot of bark, maybe roots and things like that that contain those tannins. So if you look at that colour, and this is quite fresh, so if I was looking for this animal, I'd be on the right trail. But there isn't any tracks, so it does tend to suggest that it was maybe a few hours old, maybe 2 or 3 hours old. And the sun's not out, so it is staying wetter than normal. If the sun was out, you might have a different time frame. But judging by how wet it is, it's still very clumped. There's been no dung beetles come through and start attacking it yet to take it away and feed for its young. So yeah, so I'd say probably about 2 or 3 hours old, putting everything together. So we'll see if we get any answers as we carry on driving. Got a nice smell to it as well. It's not offensive. See, now I'm going to need a stepladder to get back into Wendy. She's quite high, this vehicle, and I'm quite short. And hopefully I didn't just take your eardrums out by slamming the door. I do apologise. Just put my ear back in. I can hear everything. So hopefully there's a few potential guides out there who, or learning to be a guide as you're driving around on safari with us, you might be able to ID the dung. Who Dung It? Quite an easy one to start with. You might have another one a bit later on. Well done, you're one of the first ones. Sherry and Jason, well done. We've actually had quite a few right answers. So well done to you for getting in there first. It was elephant dung. Very easy. Lots of giveaway clues. So well done to you guys for your first Who Dung It of the week. Who Dung It, I think, moved off quite a long distance now. So I was saying about what dung I would pick up and what I wouldn't. I would not be picking up carnivore dung because there's a lot of bacteria in that. But with the herbivore dung, it literally is just processed grass or leaves. So there's not too much of a problem. And actually there is an age-old tradition here in South Africa one of the games the Afrikaans boys, I suppose actually the English South Africans also play it, no? And I've had a few rounds of it myself. I'm not very good at it, but you take a piece of impala dung and you try and spit it as far as you can. So that's the games you tend to play out here in the bush. Box draw competition. But I still haven't got the knack of getting it too far. It's quite embarrassing. Mine's very pitiful. It doesn't go further than a metre. But some oaks can get it quite far. I think I really wish we had a tape measure, but there was one that looked like it was a good 10 metres. Maybe it was Pinder for the mongoose. Could have been Pinder, which is down on the east side. So I think we will try central. See if anything shows up there. And if there isn't anything, then I'll give you another Who Dung It. Also, there hadn't been much dung on the road. It's been quite pitiful, actually. But we'll keep trying. Anybody on top of that termite mound? No. Keep seeing the hibiscus flowers occasionally, the yellow flowers. They're out in bloom at the moment. Let's see if I can show you one. Of course, now that I mentioned it, there isn't going to be any. It's always the way. So if you have any questions at WildEarth.tv as we're driving around on our LiveSafari. Hashtag Safari Live, you can also send them in there. So we're currently starting from scratch, looking for any signs or So we're currently starting from scratch, looking for any signs of tracks or even dung. Suggests there might be a carnivore in the area. Been lucky enough to see one of the smallest carnivores in South Africa. In fact, I think it is the smallest carnivore. I was hoping someone might look it up for me just to check and confirm. Maybe someone could do that today. And obviously the hyenas, sure. Totally forgot about the hyenas as well, obviously carnivores too. With that beautiful baby. Oh, that was just too precious. Hey, who do we have in the dam? Let's go and say hello.
There's a little steenbok on the left as well.
Oh, is there? Ah, yeah. Let's say hello to the little steenbok. Can you see it nicely there?
Yeah.
antelope we don't get to see very often. Gets its name, Stian is brick colour. You see that beautiful red. And like quite a number of antelope in South Africa, you can tell a difference quite easily between the steenbok. The females don't have horns, the males do. And incidentally, some people call the antelope deer here. We actually don't have any deer that is native to South Africa. We do have some imported deer. I think we have red deer and I think possibly muntjac, but they're actually not supposed to be here. What you got to say, Franklin? I think he's just answering the other Franklin further down the road. So yeah, so really we just have antelope here in South Africa, and some of the differences between the antelope and the deer is the horns. If you notice on all the antelope you've seen today, we haven't seen so many that have got horns, but the horns don't branch off, whereas if you can picture a deer in your mind, you tend to have those beautiful antlers, and we call them antlers rather than horns. They have the beautiful antlers and they tend to have little finger-like projections off of them. Even with the muntjac deer, it's got two little prongs, if you like, whereas with the antelope it's just the one, and it might spiral, it might be straight just like the steenbok here, it might be long, it might be curved back, but it's always just the one projection. And you might see that it's actually quite dark, and again on all the antelope you see it's very dark in colour, and that's the keratin, that's the horn substance over the top, and keratin is literally hair and fingernail, that's what it is, and that just makes this bony covering over, sorry, not bony, it's the bone inside, and then this hard covering over the top, just like your fingernail. Whereas with the antlers, they tend to grow the bone and then skin with velvet over it to protect it while it's growing. You're sitting in the tree there, Franklin. You tend to be a ground bird, so why are you sitting in the tree? What got you spooked? It's our little Natal Franklin again. I'm gonna maybe just move around and just see if we can get a little view of the Franklin for you. Well, it's actually Spurfell now. Gone through a few name changes. Next little steenbok. It's just sitting in the trunk of the tree. I'll move around a little bit more. Just up there, can you see it?
Yeah.
So what are you doing up there? What have you seen down here? Now these tend to be ground birds, they tend to spend most of the time down on the ground. And the fact they're sitting up there means somebody has been about, but they want to keep out of sight. Oh, coming down. So, whatever happened, it's moved off. Yeah, there's the other one as well. There was two in the tree. Okay, well, I'll just see if there's any tracks on this junction to give us an indication of what or who might have come through here. I'm going to catch up with her. It's quite nice listening to the little ground birds. They have these little contact calls as they move through the grass. Now, I must admit, the animals that I trust when it comes to alarm calls are vervet monkeys. They're usually not far wrong. Can you just see if there's a track your side there? Anything there? No? No cat tracks. So yeah, they're generally spot on. Baboons, I tend to take with a pinch of salt. They tend to be quite chatty about anything and everything, including their own personal life. So unless they join in with somebody else calling, I tend to not give them too much. Although the baboons here used to be really good. On the reserve I work at now, oh, you take them with a pinch of salt, otherwise you'll be gallivanting out all day and not get anything done. But the other animal, and if ever you're on your own safari as well, and actually I'm really hoping we'll bump into some of these animals. We haven't seen any of them, I haven't seen any tracks of them either. Oh. There's a bird sitting in the tree. I don't want to get too close, just in case I bump their sighting. Oh, nice. Can you get him?
Yeah, quite far there.
Yeah, they're looking at the bird. If I get any closer, I might disturb them. So hopefully that little flick of feathers on top of its head might just give it away, but it looks like a juvenile. Oh, leave off the road here. Morning. Oh, you good to go around? Yeah, I didn't want to get too close and disturb your bird. Good morning. I've just come down in Vubu. There's some sparrow sitting in this tree here. They've just come down now. I didn't notice anything that side, but yeah, I think there's a lot of vehicle traffic up there already. But I haven't checked along Buffalo's Hook cut line yet.
Yeah, I just didn't on very cut line. There's some tracks from last night. It seems like you came out and headed north.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, otherwise it's been pretty quiet.
Yeah, but yeah, if you're interested in that Mampin Panambizi, oh, it was beautiful. It's only about a month old.
There's another one on Cheetah cut line.
Oh, okay.
I went through there yesterday, but there was no one there.
Okay.
But yeah, I know that female's got two pups.
Oh, nice. That's on the southern side of Tutacut Line, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Just before you get to Gary Main.
Yeah, I think I know that one. Cool.
Right, have you driven quarantine area?
Just the western side. I haven't done the eastern side. No worries, you too. Enjoy. That was one of the guides from the other lodge. He's already done Gary Cut Line for us. There's the Merivale tracks going north. Yeah, get a little bit of a better visual on the bird here. Looking very unimpressed. Pete, did anybody manage to ID the smaller bird that we had previously? Actually, I think it's just where it's had a little bit of a raindrop on its head. So it's not who I thought it was.
They're not a juvenile warbird.
I thought that, but I think it is just that little bit of the rain has just dropped on his head.
Yeah.
Flicked it up because that's who I thought it was. I suppose it could be, because that's, I'm just looking at the pale form and this would be the normal form. Shame we can't see the legs. But that's who I thought this was. This is warburgs, juvenile warburgs. I say, definitely looking unimpressed at the moment. But nice, got a nice view, checking out what's going on. See if there's any potential prey. And with a lot of the eagles, it does take them a long time to molt through their juvenile feathers into the adult feathers. And especially something like a batelier, it can take up to 7 years for the juvenile to actually get adult plumage. And they'll go through several molts. Molt just meaning they lose the feathers and replenish with new ones. So he could, maybe it's also in that transitional stage, so he's looking a little bit, got a bit of a pale front and a spotted back. Very cool. So usually that little flick on top of the head is the Warburg signature. A little crest. Oh, maybe it isn't, it just looks like it is that damp patch. Yeah, hopefully it won't fly away. It didn't fly away with the other vehicle driving underneath it, so hopefully we won't disturb it. Well, maybe we should go back down towards... I don't know if you're going to be able to get it. It's looking right down at us.
Oh, it's not possible.
Right down it is.
Oh, it's not possible.
Oh, that's a shame.
Just see it at the top.
Just move back a little bit, maybe that'll help. He's like, what are you doing? That branch might be in the way for you now.
Yeah.
Just don't open your mouth as we go underneath it. Very cool. And it's actually quite a small eagle as well. Maybe it's just he just looks quite hunched up.
I think that's the one I saw with Mark the other day.
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe he's just in that transitional period then. Let's say with that crest, that's what I thought it was at the start. And actually nothing else is springing to mind. I think we are. Unless anybody can come back with a different ID, I think it is the Wahlbergs. They say if you saw it with Mark as well.
Yeah, and it was even in that same area, the same tree.
Yeah. Sold. The big brown jobs are just as difficult as the little brown jobs. Oh, we got some more dwarfies. Wow, nice. Let's put them roll down. Can you still see them nicely?
Yeah.
It's funny, you get some families that really don't mind vehicles, and you get some families that just get scared by them. The rest of the family actually running up the road. Brilliant. Oh! I don't know if you got them. They were sitting on the rock and they fell off. Really busy fighting to look at where they put their feet. Oh, brilliant. Alrighty, so I shall give you your next Who Dung It while we're still looking for tracks. It's gone very quiet, unfortunately, with the Bush newspaper. Ooh. So here's your next one. Now I've picked this up because this animal, unfortunately, as I'm sure many of you are aware, there are huge problems with poaching of this animal. Unfortunately, the trade in a particular part of this animal has just gone ridiculously exponential. So I didn't want to tell you where the location was of where I got this, but it's still very interesting, and it's probably one of my favourite animals, and it is a shame we're not going to be able to show you these animals, but at least I can show you part of what they leave behind. So that should hopefully give some of the viewers who have never seen this dung before a bit of a giveaway. It looks very similar to the dung we had earlier. You can see there's very big fragments in here, but look at the colour. It's quite dark in colour, I tried to pick up quite a dark piece. It doesn't have that red colour, so that tells you it hasn't been eating bark, it doesn't eat roots. But there's a lot of grass in here, so that might help you with this particular animal. So there isn't any leaves in here, so it is just a grass eater, and there's a lot of it. A lot of it. The females of this species will have balls of dung, and they'll go in a toilet, and it's called a midden, and they'll go in these same toilets along the roads or along game trails, and that's her way of advertising that she's ready to mate. If a male comes along, she'll actually go into his toilet, so she'll say, look, I'm ready to mate, come and find me. But otherwise she'll go in middens, and the male will also use these middens, but he'll use them for territorial purposes. So when he goes, he'll actually put it down and then start scraping his feet like this, so he gets all the scent on his feet, and as he walks he marks his territory. Very, very clever. And as I say, if he finds that there's been a female there, he sniffs it around, gets her scent, and he literally is like a tracker dog. It is amazing to watch these animals try and track these females. And he literally puts his nose to the ground and goes, and if she's walked around a tree, he will follow that trail around a tree. And then he gets very upset when he can't find where she's gone. Very, very entertaining. But that is your second Who Dung It for this morning. So see if we do come back with any right answers, and at least we can hopefully give this animal a mention. I can hear oxpeckers above our heads, which also will land on these animals and take away any parasites. Cool, so let's keep on with our quest. Sorry, Pete, I didn't quite catch the first part of that. Danny, Vicky, and Diane were some of the first ones, but I think most people got the correct answer. Well done. It was a rhino. Quite a few nice giveaway clues there, just for any viewers who have not been on board before, give them a little bit of a sporting chance as well. But yes, it's the trade in the rhino horn that has just grown exponentially. So because of that, we won't show you where middens are, although middens are all over. They almost litter the place. But just in case, let's just try and keep the rhino safe. We won't show you where they are, and we won't show you if there's any around. But they are one of my favourite animals. And the sad thing is, people think rhinos are boring creatures because all they do is eat, sleep, and that's pretty much it. But there's actually so much more to their behaviour. And I was lucky enough to look after two in captivity. And I was actually just saying this to Andrew yesterday as well, that we had such a wonderful bond, and was it you or was it Brian? It could have been Brian in the morning. And they actually have this need to have that tactile communication. It's quite something. And looking after them, you can actually call their name and they would come up for a tickle. And you could scratch them underneath the legs. They had like velvet skin, absolutely soft, very supple. They also had this little spot underneath the horn that some of them, if you just rubbed it slightly, it was almost like a sleeping drug to them. Just sort of lie down and and start sleeping. But yeah, you could almost put them in a trance just by tickling them. And they absolutely loved it. And I thought, you know, maybe it's because they were captive, and you'd always see, we had two males, and you'd always see them side by side in the field. And I thought maybe it is just because they're captive. But coming out to South Africa and seeing them, I've actually realised that it is that need for tactile communication. Because if ever you're lucky enough to see rhino together, even if it's a group of males, it's a coalition again, but in a different way. they don't fight for territory together. So a coalition in that sense, it wouldn't be the right term like we would use for the cats. But certainly a crash or group of male rhino is possible. We used to have 6 together here in Juma that would knock around together, and then actually a young male joined them. He was about 3 years old, and it was almost like the mother dropped him off, came to check out the males and made sure they're okay and dropped him off. Quite amazing. So very intelligent creatures as well, but if you see them in that group, they'll often move past each other and rub past each other. And if they're sitting together, they'll sit with their buns together, and they'll, obviously that's a lot to do with the safety as well, but they're very humble creatures. They get started very quickly. They think, even though they're huge, they're knocking on 2 tons, sometimes 3 tons for some of the big adults, but they can still be scared by a small movement in the grass. Very humble creatures, and there's so much to learn about them. I think they're probably one of the most misunderstood creatures ever. People say, oh, rhino, okay, let's move on. No, if you stay with them, you learn so much more. But yeah, they sit together, and as I say, safety, one sort of with ears pointing one way and one with ears pointing the other. And cats will do that as well if you've got a coalition, especially cheetah. They'll sit, so one's looking one way and one's looking the other. But with the rumps touching, it's just, there's just so much to them. I say intelligent because the one male worked out how to open his gate with his horn. He had bolts that would slide across. There was 2, and he worked out if he opened both with his horn, he could let himself out, so he could wander around the outer enclosure. So we soon realised that that was not a good idea, and we put like a little tag over the back of the bolt, so once the bolt was across, the tag would fall down and he couldn't open it anymore. But yeah, as I say, you underestimate their intelligence. But they also do get a little bit spooked because the eyesight isn't brilliant. Especially, it was actually white rhino dung because they eat grass. So their eyes are quite close to their mouth, so when they've got the head down, they're grazing, they can see what they're eating. But their ears are right up on top of the head, so they're actually above a lot of the grasses, so they can see with their ears what's going on. They've got very good hearing and very good sense of smell. Their eyesight's very poor, so they can get started very quickly because of it. The black rhino, on the other hand, eats leaves. So if we found their dung, it would actually be slightly different. You would find leaves in there. It wouldn't be red. They don't tend to eat as much bark as the elephants. The elephants have a special digestive system, and that's why they got so big. Was so they could make use of the bark, which is not very good quality food, but they can eat a lot of it. Oh, sorry, I disturbed you. I thought I saw some movement there. One of the eagles flying off there. There it goes. Oh, looks like there is a nest there. Sorry, who was that from? Bonnie. Good morning to you, Bonnie. Welcome on board this very overcast day here at Juma, but I'm hoping that with the overcast day, it's cool enough for carnivores to still be out and about. Bonnie would like to know if the elephant dung, the baby elephant dung, is different to the adults. The adults dung, does it look different because they'll be nursing? And I've never seen any runny dung from baby elephants. It just tends to be a lot smaller because they will start trying vegetation from a few months old, but it can take them 2-3 years to actually be fully weaned. It takes quite a long time for them to be fully weaned, but they will be trying vegetation, leaves and fruits and anything that mother tries, and that's where it learns how to find its food. And it's quite a long learning process because there is so much to learn: what foods to eat, what not to eat, where to find fresh water, and especially when it's winter. They'll go to certain areas where the water just runs underground, and the females will actually start digging for the water, and we're actually heading towards the drainage line now, where we've often seen elephants in the winter time doing that. And this water is nice and clean because it's obviously been filtered by the sand as well. So they learn all of this, and even medicines. You know, they'll actually eat the bark apparently to try and settle stomachs and things like that. So they'll know where to find these medicines if they're not feeling too well. Even salts. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of the footage that David Attenborough and his team got with elephants going inside a cave, and elephants must have been visiting this cave for many years, and it had obviously been excavated from the amount of times the elephants had been taking the salt to supplement their diet. So these mineral-rich areas are also extremely important to know about. So it does take quite a long time for a baby elephant to grow up, and males, as I say, tend to leave when they're about 16-18 years old, but the females will often stay a lot longer and have young, and if the herd gets big it might just separate off and then come and meet up again. Yeah, the dung tends to be a lot smaller. I mean, the adult dung, the big male elephants, you're looking about this sort of size. Baby elephants, probably about that's the smallest I've ever seen. It tends to be barrel-shaped as well, not round like the rhinos. Same with the baby rhino as well, just on a smaller scale. But one thing that is interesting about the babies, they need to have certain bacteria to help them break down, especially the tough cellulose inside the bark and everything. So they'll actually, oh, there's a rubbing post. I was saying about the tracks and signs earlier. You might be able to see there's a lot of mud on the side of this tree here. So you might be able to see that deeply grooved bark, and then the mud where someone's been scratching. Even warthogs will do this, but rhinos, elephants. I haven't really seen buffalo, but I'm sure they do. And quite often the animals will roll in the mud. It protects the skin from the sun, but also when it dries, it'll stick to the parasites, and as they scratch the mud off, the parasites will come out with it. Quite clever. So how does this baby elephant get the bacteria, the special bacteria? Well, it's not born with it. It has to ingest it. It has to eat it. And what it does, it eats mum's dung. Nice and tasty. Same with the zebra as well. Zebra have the same problem, so baby eats mother's dung to get the bacteria into it. Technical name for it, coprophagy, dung eating. Yeah, let's just have a quick look around Chelapan. We're actually at Chelapan now. Just have a quick look, see if there's anybody around here, and then I think we'll just head down towards Treehouse Dam. hello, mister. There we go, demonstrating exactly what I've just been talking about. I timed it better. Caped completely, almost completely from head to toe. In that wonderful grey mud. That's another thing I love watching rhinos do, is actually rolling around in the mud. They love it. They actually turn into little dogs. If you can imagine this 2-ton animal rolling over on its back, kicking its legs in the air, and just covering his body in mud. I've not actually seen buffaloes do that. They tend to just go onto one side and then they go onto the other side. I don't remember seeing buffalo going right the way over like rhinos do. And of course this is where the buffaloes, the old buffaloes, get the name from, Dugger boys, the Dugger meaning the mud. They'll spend a lot of time in there, just chilling out.
Look on the left side of his neck, Tara.
Oh yeah, he's a little bit swollen, hey?
There's a little gash there.
Yeah, no, that if the actual neck itself looks swollen. I wonder, you know, if these boys could actually talk and tell us the stories, my word, I wonder what will happen to him. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit infected, maybe it got caught by something and got infected, but it's certainly underneath his left ear, you can see it's slightly swollen, well, slightly, quite swollen. If you saw a gash, that's probably why. Possibly from a lion attack. Especially when they're trying to bring down buffalo, you might have one jumping on the rear end, trying to slow it down, one around the neck. So that would be the perfect area for a lion attack. That is a possibility. But you're standing proof that if they do, they can still fend lions off. That's obviously a theory. It could have been another buffalo, although at this age they don't tend to spar. They're past all that. They've been in a herd of females, had their prime, mated with a few females, and then they just can't keep up with the herd anymore. And they can't really eat the tough grass, so they go for the softer vegetation next to water holes or rivers or drainage lines and just enjoy their retirement sitting in the wallows, sitting in the mud wallows, should I say. There we go, fella. Obviously we disturbed him. He was obviously stood up waiting to see what was going to happen and realised that we're not a threat. Alright, mister. I'll leave you to it. Sure, there is a lot of mud in there, hey? And it is amazing what these animals can actually put up with. And hopefully that mud might keep that wound clean. Maybe stop any further infection. But if it does slow him down, he might be attacked by lions again. But animals are pretty robust. It is amazing what they can cope with. Okay, what do we got here? Probably the old Duggar Boys tracks heading that way. Let's head around towards Treehouse Down, just see if there is anything around there. Hopefully we'll make it before the end of the drive. See, this is quite a nice sandy area, so I'm actually just reading the newspaper. Let's see if we can't get any more information. So it looks like it is just the buffalo. Oh, is there anything on your side there?
Buffalo.
Still buffalo. Have you ever tried this tea?
No.
Russet bush willow. This was probably about 9 years ago I tried this tea. But this is part of the Combretum family. The Combretums, or bush willows, have 4 wings to their seeds. And they're all different sizes. So the large fruited bush willow has fruits on it about this big. And the river bush willow is probably about half the size again. They're probably about that sort of size. But the russet bush willow, which is what this tree is, makes a very nice tea. If ever you're in the bush and you're wanting a cup of tea, then all you have to do is just take off the wings like this, and you grind them down so they're like tea leaves. Add boiling water, and I think you actually have to stew it for quite a bit, but it does make rather a nice tea from what I remember. You need to make sure that you do take the wings off and you don't eat this bit. This bit's apparently toxic, so you don't want to be eating that, but certainly the wings. But I don't know if you can do it with other bush willows, Combretums. It's only the russet, and it gets its name apparently from this rusty colour on the inside of the seed pod there. That's one of the ways you can tell it's a russet bush willow, and there's quite small leaves as well. There you go. But it's just nice, it just caught my eye with all the seed pods in the tree with that nice rusty colour. There's another one, one of the raisins also apparently makes a nice tea. Never tried that one though. Oh, hello Hornbill. You're hiding there. Oh, he got something. Looks like a grub or something. Oh, greyberries. Very well waybirds sitting in the tree. 2 of them. I was looking for them all afternoon. Could not find a single one to show people. That's it, hornbill. Make your way up towards them. I will! Ah, okay. I've seen the hornbill did have a grub and it's just fed its chick. I don't know if you've got them both in the same shot. The hornbills are just to the left of the grey lories, or grey go-away bird as they're now called. After its call. It does say go away. I will! I will! And the hornbills tell you to go back. They go, 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 go back, go back, go back, go back, go back, go back. Cool. Let's see if we can make it down to Treehouse Down. I think I might be probably cutting it a bit fine. Let's see. The light isn't brilliant for tracking. Generally speaking, you want to have a bit of sun just to show up the ridges and the falls inside the track. Just looking at some of the spoor here. Difficult to make out without that, without the sun to pass the shadows. They look like possibly a honey badger track. I know we were talking about honey badgers yesterday. Again, not clear enough to show you. This little pan here usually has a lot of activity. Tends to be from the pachyderms, the thick-skinned animals. I don't remember seeing much in the way of the cats. But this has also got a lot bigger than what it was, probably about half the size 3 years ago. It is amazing how quickly it grows. Where we had the vultures yesterday, but no vultures today. correctly, we're now on Weaver's Nest Road.
Like a little baker or something. Hop across.
Ah,
I think. Just quickly.
sounds about right then. Could be a Daker. Is this here? Yeah, there he is. Nice spot, well done. Ah! And that's exactly what Daker means, to dive. And they do, they dive through the bush. Very difficult to keep up with it. Still see him?
No, he's a goner.
Oh. Well, hopefully you got to see the grey body, different to the steenbok we saw earlier. The grey Daker, or common Daker, two names. Interestingly enough, they eat fungus as well as leaves and stuff, and also caterpillars. Whatever reason, I don't know why, but caterpillars is part of their diet. Very odd. Yeah, the hornbill's calling again. They're whistling. We might just make it. And of course this is probably one of the most memorable areas for a lot of us. This is where we had Karula's cubs, a 3-year-old son, and the father of the cubs, both the 3-year-old and the 1-year-old. This is where it happened. And Karula was sat in the tree just behind us. Video down, the cubs were just there interacting. Absolutely amazing. And actually another sighting that we had came back to my memory last night, and we actually had the grandfather, the Fuffenjan, interacting with his grandson, at Treehouse Dam, and I'm hoping we're going to make it there before the end of the drive. But I might not. But that was amazing. The Fuffenjan actually walked probably about a metre and a half away from him. And didn't even look like he registered him at all. And he actually chased off a stranger that was in the vicinity. I think I'm going to have to say goodbye, folks. Still a little bit out from the dam. But thank you very much for joining us this morning here on WildEarth. It has been quite a nice drive, actually. We've had quite a number of small creatures, and well done for the Who Dung It quizzes. And there will be some more slightly harder ones in the next week or two. But thank you from myself and from Andrew on camera and Pete back in Final Control, and hopefully you'll be able to join us this afternoon on our next live safari here on WildEarth. But until then, take care and goodbye for now.